This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org at www.librivox.org. Recording by Mary, aka Breadchick, www.breadchick.com. How to Cook Fish by Olive Green. Section 28, 130 Ways to Cook Salmon. Broiled Salmon, Recipe 1. Marinate slices of salmon in olive oil and salt and pepper, minced parsley, bay leaves, and mixed herbs to season. Soak in the marinade for an hour or more and broil, basting with the marinade. Serve with caper sauce. Broiled Salmon, Recipe 2. Take a young fish weighing from 4 to 6 pounds. Clean, split, remove the backbone, and broil. Sprinkle with lemon juice and red pepper. Broiled Salmon, Recipe 3. Take 3 pounds of the tail part of the salmon. Let it stand for 6 hours in a marinade of oil and lemon juice with minced parsley, 2 bay leaves, and a sprig of thyme. Drain and broil. Serve with maître d'hôtel sauce, to which a teaspoonful of chopped chives have been added. Salmon broiled in paper. Season salmon steaks with pepper and salt. Wrap in buttered paper, twisting the ends, broil, and serve with anchovy or caper sauce. Broiled salmon steaks, Recipe 1. Season with pepper and salt, broil carefully on a buttered gridiron, pour over melted butter, garnish with parsley, and serve. Broiled salmon steaks, Recipe 2. Sprinkle with pepper and salt, dredge with flour and broil, basting with melted butter as required. Spread with melted butter or with maître d'hôtel sauce. Broiled salmon steaks, Recipe 3. Marinate the steaks for an hour in oil and lemon juice, seasoning with salt and pepper. Broil carefully and serve with any preferred sauce. Broiled salmons à la ravigote. Marinate salmon steaks in seasoned oil and lemon juice and broil quickly. Serve with ravigote sauce. Salmon cutlets in papillotes. Butter large sheets of white paper, sprinkle with crumbs, and fold tightly over small cutlets of salmon. Broil carefully over a slow fire. Serve in the papers. Salmon cutlets with caper sauce. Marinate for 2 hours slices of salmon in oil with minced parsley and onion. Dip large pieces of paper in oil and wrap carefully around each slice, fastening firmly. Broil carefully and serve with cream sauce, to which capers have been added. Salmon steaks with parsley sauce. Season salmon steaks, dip in melted butter, then in cornmeal, and broil. Cook together 2 tablespoonfuls each of butter and flour. Add 2 cupfuls of cold water and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, season with salt and pepper, add the juice of half a lemon, a tablespoonful of minced parsley, and pour over the fish. Boiled Salmon, Recipe 1. Wash and wipe a small salmon. Wrap in a cloth, tie securely, and put into the fish kettle. Cover with cold water, add a handful of salt, and boil slowly until done. Cook together 1 tablespoonful each of butter and flour. Add 2 cupfuls of boiling cream and a tablespoonful of the water in which the fish is cooked. Cook until thick, stirring constantly. Season with salt and minced parsley, pour over the fish, and serve. Boiled Salmon, Recipe 2. Chop together a carrot, an onion, a stalk of celery. Fry in butter. Add half a cupful of vinegar, 4 cloves, 4 peppercorns, a bay leaf, a sprig of parsley, and 6 cupfuls of boiling water. Boil for an hour, strain, cool, and boil the salmon in it. Serve with any preferred sauce. Boiled salmon with egg sauce. Tie a large chunk of salmon in mosquito netting and simmer until done in salted and acidulated water. Drain, skin, and if possible remove the bone. Serve with drawn butter sauce, to which chopped hard-boiled eggs have been added. Boiled salmon with green sauce. Boil a small salmon in salted and acidulated water. Take up carefully and reduce the liquid by rapid boiling to 2 cupfuls. Cook together 2 tablespoonfuls each of butter and flour. Add the reduced liquid and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, add 2 tablespoonfuls of chopped capers, 1 tablespoonful of chopped parsley, the juice of a lemon, and 1 tablespoonful of butter. Pour over the fish and serve. Boiled salmon steaks, Recipe 1. Wrap each steak separately in mosquito netting. Put into boiling water, to which has been added a slice of onion, a bay leaf, a blade of mace, 4 tablespoonfuls of tarragon vinegar, and a teaspoonful of salt. Simmer for 20 minutes. Remove carefully, drain, serve with any preferred sauce. Boiled salmon steaks Recipe 2. Boil the steaks slowly in salted and acidulated water to cover, or in court bouillon seasoned with wine. Serve with hollandaise sauce. Boiled salmon steaks Recipe 3. Cook the steaks in water to cover and add a celery root, a small bunch of parsley, salt and pepper to season, and a tablespoonful of vinegar. Strain the liquid, thicken with a tablespoon each of butter and flour cooked together, pour over the fish, and serve. Boiled salmon à la piquante. Boil slices of salmon in court bouillon seasoned with wine. Drain, garnish with parsley, and serve with piquante sauce. Boiled salmon à la Waldorf. Boil a large piece of salmon in salted and acidulated water, seasoned with herbs and spice. Drain and keep warm. Add 2 cupfuls of the liquid in which the fish was cooked, 1 wineglassful of white wine, and 2 anchovies rubbed to a paste. Boil for 15 minutes, then add in small bits a tablespoonful of butter. Serve the sauce separately. Salmon with oyster sauce. Boil 2 pounds of fresh salmon in salted and acidulated water to cover, with a chopped onion, 2 cloves, 8 peppercorns, and a small bunch of parsley. Drain and serve with oyster sauce. Salmon cutlets with oyster sauce. Boil large slices of salmon in salted water until done. Fry a small onion, chopped in oil, add 4 dozen oysters, cut small, 2 tablespoonfuls of flour, the liquor drained from the oysters, 2 teaspoonfuls of sugar, and pepper and salt and anchovy essence to season. When thick, take from the fire, add the beaten yolks of 4 eggs, and reheat, but do not boil. Pour the sauce into a platter and cool. Lay the slices of salmon on the sauce, brush with egg, sprinkle with crumbs, and brown in the oven. Salmon à la Supreme. Boil a salmon in court bouillon with wine. Drain, cool, skin, and serve with tartar sauce. Mayonnaise of salmon. Cook fresh salmon in a court bouillon. Drain, cool, skin, and serve with mayonnaise. Salmon pudding. Flake the fish. Add half the quantity of breadcrumbs, a tablespoonful of melted butter, a teaspoonful of onion juice, and pepper and salt to season. Beat 2 eggs light with 2 tablespoonfuls of cream. Mix with the fish. Put into a buttered mold and boil for an hour and a half. Serve with a cream sauce seasoned with lemon juice and anchovy paste. Baked salmon Recipe 1. Put 4 salmon steaks into a buttered saucepan with 2 cupfuls each of white wine and white stock. Season with salt, pepper, grated nutmeg, minced parsley, and a pinch of allspice. Add a heaping teaspoonful of butter and flour cooked together. Take from the fire, add the yolks of 4 eggs well beaten and a little minced parsley. Arrange a mound of seasoned mashed potatoes in a deep platter. Take the skin from the steaks and arrange them around it. Pour the sauce over, sprinkle with crumbs, dot with butter, and brown in the oven. Baked salmon Recipe 2. Wash and wipe a small fish. Rub with pepper and salt, sprinkle with paprika and powdered mace. Bake carefully, basting with melted butter and its own dripping. Take up the fish carefully and add to the gravy enough stock or water to make the required quantity of sauce. Thicken with butter and flour cooked together. Season with tomato ketchup and lemon juice. Pour around the fish and serve. Baked salmon Recipe 3. Rub a small cleaned salmon with olive oil. Sprinkle with salt and pepper. Put into a buttered baking pan and add 1 cupful of boiling water and 2 tablespoonfuls of butter. Baste every 10 minutes until done. Take up the fish and keep it warm. Thicken the gravy with a teaspoonful or more of cornstarch mixed with a little cold water. Season with grated onion, lemon juice, and tomato ketchup. Baked salmon with cream sauce. Wrap a large middle cut of salmon in buttered paper and fasten firmly. Bake in a buttered baking pan, basting with butter melted in hot water. Take from the oven at the end of an hour, remove the paper carefully, and keep warm. Bring to the boil 1 cupful of cream and add 1 tablespoonful of cornstarch rubbed smooth with a little cold cream. Add 1 tablespoonful each of butter and minced parsley, and pepper and salt to season. Pour the sauce over the fish or serve separately. Salmon baked in paper. Season a large piece of salmon with salt, pepper, and lemon juice. wrap in a large piece of buttered paper and pin firmly. Put into a buttered baking pan, cover, and bake for an hour, basting frequently with hot water and melted butter. Take off the paper and serve with any preferred sauce. Baked salmon steaks. Put the steaks in a buttered baking dish. Lay bits of butter upon them, seasoning with salt, pepper, minced parsley, and grated onion. Bake carefully, basting as required, and serve with caper or tomato sauce. Baked salmon cutlets. Put salmon steaks into a buttered baking pan with half a cupful of hot water and half a cupful of white wine. Sprinkle with salt, paprika, and grated nutmeg. Cover with raw oysters and crumbs fried in butter. Bake for 20 minutes. Take up the fish carefully. Cook together 1 tablespoonful each of butter and flour. Add the liquor from the pan and a teaspoonful of anchovy paste. Cook until thick, stirring constantly. Pour around the fish and serve. Salmon à la Windsor. Season salmon steaks with salt and pepper. Dip in egg and crumbs, put into a buttered baking pan, and bake quickly. Serve with any preferred sauce. Stuffed salmon. Clean, bone, and parboil a small salmon. Rub the inside with salt, pepper, and grated nutmeg. Stuff with chopped oysters, minced parsley, and seasoned crumbs. Fold together, put into a buttered baking dish, and bake for half an hour, basting with its own dripping. Salmon steaks à la Flamande. Sprinkle a buttered dripping pan with chopped onion and season with pepper and salt. Lay salmon steaks on top, brush with the yolk of a beaten egg, cover with a layer of chopped onion and parsley, season with salt, red pepper, lemon juice, and dots of butter, and bake for half an hour. Salmon en papillotes. Use 6 small salmon steaks. Season with salt and pepper. Butter sheets of white paper a little larger than the steaks and lay on each one a thin slice of lean boiled ham. Cook together in butter a chopped onion, a handful of chopped mushrooms, a minced bean of garlic, and a tablespoonful of minced parsley. Spread a thin layer on the ham. Lay a slice of salmon upon it, spread with the cooked vegetables, cover with another slice of ham, put another piece of oiled paper over, and fold carefully at the edges. Bake in a moderate oven for 15 or 20 minutes and serve in the papers. Fillets of salmon en papillotes. Cut salmon steaks into fillets, dip into melted butter and lemon juice, fold in buttered paper, and bake for half an hour in a slow oven. Serve in the papers and pass hollandaise sauce. Salmon cutlets en papillotes. Cut slices of salmon into cutlets. Beat together 3 tablespoonfuls of olive oil, the yolk of an egg, a teaspoonful of minced onion, and a tablespoonful of chopped parsley. Sprinkle the fish with salt and pepper, spread the mixture over, fold each piece in a buttered paper, fastening securely, and bake for half an hour. Serve in the papers. Fried salmon recipe 1. Cut slices of salmon into small pieces and put into a saucepan with pepper, salt, minced parsley, and lemon juice to season. Add sufficient butter and fry carefully. Serve with ravigote or any preferred sauce. Fried salmon recipe 2. Wrap slices of salmon in oiled paper, fastening firmly, and fry in deep fat. Drain carefully and serve in the paper. Fried salmon recipe 3. Sprinkle salmon steaks with salt and flour. Brush with the beaten yolk of an egg and fry in hot olive oil. Drain, garnish with fried parsley, and serve. Fried salmon steaks. Dredge the steaks with seasoned flour or dip into egg and seasoned crumbs and fry. Fried salmon cutlets recipe 1. Steam the salmon steaks, cool, cut into fillets, dip in egg and crumbs, fry in deep fat, and serve with tartar or hollandaise sauce. Fried salmon cutlets recipe 2. Prepare very thick cream sauce and mix with it cold cooked salmon cut fine. Season with red pepper, salt, and lemon juice and let cool. Shape into cutlets, dip into beaten egg, then in crumbs, and fry in deep fat. Fried salmon cutlets recipe 3. Rub cold boiled salmon smooth with 1/3 the quantity of mashed potatoes. Season with salt, pepper, and pounded mace. Shape into cutlets, dip in egg and crumbs, and fry in deep fat. Serve with any preferred sauce. Salmon cutlets à la Anglaise. Cut slices of salmon in the shape of cutlets. Season with salt and pepper and fry in butter. Drain and serve with ravigote sauce. Salmon à la Lyonnaise. Fry slices of salmon in butter with pepper and salt to season. Serve with a hollandaise sauce to which cooked oysters, cooked shrimps, and minced parsley have been added. Salmon cutlets with Milanese sauce. Cut slices of salmon into small pieces. Dip into white wine and wrap in buttered paper, fastening securely. Fry carefully in butter. Remove the papers, garnish with parsley, and serve with Milanaise sauce. Fillets of salmon à la Orly. Cut fresh salmon into small pieces. Remove the skin and marinate for an hour in lemon juice seasoned with salt and pepper. Drain, dip in egg and crumbs, fry in deep fat, and serve with tomato sauce. Salmon à l'amande. Put a large middle cut of salmon into a saucepan with a sliced carrot, a large onion, a bunch of parsley, salt and pepper to season. Half a cupful of butter, 2 cupfuls of claret, and enough stock to cover. Cover with buttered paper and cook slowly for an hour. Take up the fish carefully and keep warm. Strain the liquid, skim the fat, and thicken with butter and flour cooked together until brown. Add a tablespoonful of butter seasoned with lemon juice and anchovy essence. Pour over the fish and serve. Salmon à la Admiral. Fry in butter 2 chopped onions, 2 parsley roots, a bunch of chopped parsley and a sprig of thyme, a broken bay leaf, a clove, and 3 small chopped carrots. Add 1 cupful of white wine. Put a small cleaned salmon into a buttered baking dish. Spread the vegetables over, cover, and cook until tender, basting with the drippings or with hot water if needed. Take out the fish, strain the liquid, add to it a cupful of cream, and thicken with a tablespoonful each of butter and flour cooked together. Pour it around the fish and garnish with lemon and parsley. Salmon à la Bordeaux. Clean a small salmon, stuff with seasoned crumbs and oysters, and put into a fish kettle with 2 tablespoonfuls of butter, 2 onions sliced, a bunch of parsley, and salt and pepper and grated nutmeg to season. Add 2 cupfuls each of stock, water, and white wine. Cover the fish with buttered paper and simmer for an hour. Drain the fish and keep warm. Prepare a sauce according to directions given in the recipe for salmon à la Genoise, using the liquid strained from the fish. Salmon à la Candice. Put a large cut of salmon on the drainer in a fish kettle and cover it with a small slice of raw ham. Add 2 cupfuls of Rhine wine, a quart of stock, and a bunch of parsley. Cover with buttered paper, simmer for an hour, drain and remove the skin. Strain the liquid, thicken with flour cooked brown in butter, add a tablespoonful of butter, cayenne, and lemon juice to season. Bring to the boil, pour over the fish, and serve. Salmon à la Chambord. Put a large middle cut of salmon into a saucepan with sliced carrots and onions, a bunch of parsley, 2 tablespoonfuls of butter, and 2 cupfuls each of white wine and white stock. Season with salt and peppercorns. Cover and simmer slowly for an hour. Take up the fish carefully and keep warm. Strain the liquid and thicken with flour cooked brown in butter. Add half a cupful of stewed and strained tomatoes, the juice of a lemon, 2 tablespoonfuls of butter, and a teaspoonful of anchovy essence. Pour over the fish and serve. Salmon à la Spagnole. Cut fresh salmon in small pieces suitable for serving and fry in butter. Drain and keep warm. Add 2 tablespoonfuls of flour to the butter in which the fish is cooked and brown. Add 2 cupfuls of stock and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, add a tablespoonful of butter, a teaspoonful of minced parsley, and the juice of a lemon. Pour over the fish and serve. Salmon à la Genoise. Boil a small fresh salmon in salted and acidulated water to cover. Drain and skin. Arrange on a serving dish and keep warm. Chop fine a small slice of ham, a slice of carrot, a small stalk of celery, an onion, a parsley root, and 3 or 4 shallots. Add a sprig of thyme, a bay leaf, a blade of mace, and 2 cloves. Fry in butter. Add 2 tablespoonfuls of flour and cook until brown. Add 2 cupfuls of claret and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add half a cupful of beef stock, bring to the boil, and strain through a sieve. Reheat, add a tablespoonful of butter and minced parsley, lemon juice, grated nutmeg, and anchovy essence to season. Pour around the fish and serve. Salmon à la Italienne. Flake cold salmon fine with a silver fork and mix with an equal quantity of cold cooked spaghetti cut fine. Reheat in a cream sauce, add a few capers, and serve very hot. Steaks à la Marinière. Marinate salmon steaks in seasoned oil, drain, and broil. Cover with small boiled onions and cooked oysters. Pour over a sauce made according to the directions given in the recipe for salmon à la Genoise and serve. Salmon à la Marseille. Boil a small salmon in salted and acidulated water. Skin and put on a serving dish. Spread over it some very thick cream sauce, sprinkle with crumbs, brush with a beaten egg, cover with crumbs again, sprinkle with salt, pepper, and grated nutmeg, and brown in the oven. Serve with a sauce made of equal parts of white wine and stock, thickened with butter and flour cooked together. Salmon à la Maryland. Prepare and clean a small salmon and simmer in salted water until done. Prepare a drawn butter sauce and add it to a cupful of butter. When the butter is melted, take from the fire and add quickly 2 eggs beaten and the juice of half a lemon. Pour the sauce over the fish and serve. Salmon à la Naples. Fry salmon steak in butter, seasoning with salt, pepper, and grated nutmeg. When half cooked, add a half a cupful of white wine to the butter. Cover and simmer slowly until done. Cover the salmon with cooked oysters, pour the liquid remaining in the pan over the fish, and serve. Salmon à la Provence. Season 4 salmon steaks and cook with a tablespoonful of butter and the juice of a lemon. Add a dozen oysters, half a dozen small shrimps, and 1 cupful of white stock thickened with flour and butter cooked together. Simmer until the oysters are cooked. Take from the fire, add the yolk of an egg, beaten smooth with a tablespoonful of sherry, and serve with triangles of fried bread. Salmon à la Provençale. Put a large cut of salmon into a saucepan and cover with salted and acidulated water. Add a sliced onion, a carrot, a bunch of parsley, and salt, pepper, sweet herbs, and a pinch of allspice to season. Cover the fish with buttered paper and cook slowly for an hour. Chop together a small onion, a clove of garlic, and a few sprigs of parsley. Fry in olive oil, add 2 tablespoonfuls of butter, and cook until the flour is brown. Add 2 cupfuls of brown stock and 1 cupful of stewed and strained tomato. Cook until thick, stirring constantly, seasoning with red and white pepper and lemon juice. Remove the skin from the fish, pour the hot sauce over it, and serve. Fillets of salmon à la Venetienne. Put salmon steaks into a buttered baking dish with fine match-like strips of larding pork laid on each side. Season with salt, pepper, and lemon juice. Add 1 cupful of white wine and cover with a sheet of buttered paper, having a small hole in the center. Bake for 40 minutes, basting often. Cook together 1 tablespoonful each of butter and flour. Add 1 cupful of stock and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add a tablespoonful each of butter and lemon juice and a teaspoonful of minced parsley. Pour around the fish and serve. Salmon à la Waldorf. Marinate salmon steaks for an hour in lemon juice. Cover with stock, add pepper, salt, minced parsley to season, and simmer slowly until done. Drain, thicken the sauce, add a tablespoonful of butter, and serve separately. Salmon mousse. Rub half a pound of raw salmon to a smooth paste with water, adding gradually a dozen chopped raw oysters, half a cupful of tomato sauce, and the yolks of 3 eggs. When smooth, fold in the stiffly beaten whites, season with salt, pepper, and press through a puree sieve into small buttered molds. Put into a baking pan, surround with hot water, and bake for 15 or 20 minutes in a moderate oven. Unmold and serve with any preferred sauce. Salmon mousse à la Martineau. Pound to a pulp with a little water half a pound of raw salmon and add the well-beaten whites of 2 eggs. Cook together 1 tablespoonful each of butter and flour. Add a cupful of milk and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Season with salt, red and white pepper, grated onion, and mushroom essence. Take from the fire and add the yolks of 3 eggs beaten smooth with 2 tablespoonfuls of cream. Cool the sauce, and when cold, mix it with the fish. Fold in carefully 1 cupful of whipped cream and fill a buttered mold with the fish. Put the mold in a pan of hot water and bake in a moderate oven for half an hour. For the sauce, cook together for 10 minutes a tablespoonful each of butter and flour, a teaspoonful each of chopped onion, salt, and sugar, and half a can of tomatoes. Rub through a sieve and add the yolks of 4 eggs beaten smooth with a tablespoonful of cream and a grating of nutmeg. Take from the fire and add 2 tablespoonfuls of butter in small bits. Return to the fire and add a little lemon juice or tarragon vinegar. Strain and add a little whipped cream. Salmon steaks with claret sauce. Put 4 steaks into a buttered saucepan with salt, pepper, and grated nutmeg to season. Add a bunch of parsley, a teaspoonful of mixed sweet herbs, a chopped onion, and 2 cupfuls of claret. Cover with a buttered paper, simmer until done, and drain. Strain the sauce. Thicken with flour cooked brown in butter, skim, add 2 tablespoonfuls of butter and the juice of a lemon. Pour over the fish and serve. Salmon mayonnaise with cucumbers. Steam salmon steaks until tender. Remove the skin and cool. Cover with thinly sliced cucumbers. Mask with mayonnaise and serve with a border of lettuce leaves and sliced hard-boiled eggs. Creamed salmon on toast. Reheat a cupful of cold flaked salmon, either fresh or canned, in cream sauce. Take from the fire, add 1 egg beaten smooth with half a cupful of cream, pour over buttered toast, and serve. Curried salmon. Chop a Spanish onion, fry it in butter, and add a tablespoonful of curry powder mixed with a teaspoonful of flour. Add 2 cupfuls of stock and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add cold cooked salmon, cut into small pieces, and reheat. Serve in a border of boiled rice. Chartreuse of salmon. Wash a cupful of rice in several waters. Drain and parboil for 5 minutes in salted water to a galloping boil. Drain in a colander, return to the saucepan, add a pinch of salt and 3 cupfuls of milk or stock. Steam until tender, then add 3 tablespoonfuls of melted butter and mix with 1 tablespoonful of curry powder and 2 tablespoonfuls of lemon juice. Mix thoroughly and line a 2-quart buttered mold with the rice. Fill the center with flaked cooked salmon, seasoned with salt, pepper, and lemon juice. Cover with rice, steam for half an hour, and serve with egg sauce. Fricassee of salmon. Cut 2 pounds of salmon steaks into strips. Put into a saucepan with half a cupful of water, salt and pepper to season, a clove, a blade of mace, a tablespoonful of sugar, a chopped onion, and a heaping teaspoonful of mustard mixed with a half a cupful of vinegar. Bring to the boil, add 6 tomatoes peeled and sliced, a teaspoonful of minced parsley, and a wineglassful of sherry. Simmer for 45 minutes and serve either hot or cold. Salmon with eggs. Steam salmon steaks until tender. Cool and lay upon a platter covered with lettuce leaves. Season with salt, pepper, and lemon juice, and surround with slices of hard-boiled eggs. Mix together a tablespoonful of melted butter, a teaspoonful of made mustard, and salt and pepper to season. Spread over the egg slices and serve. Jellied salmon, Recipe 1. Simmer salmon steaks in court bouillon until done. Drain and arrange on a platter. Spread with mayonnaise tinted green with spinach juice, to which a little dissolved gelatine has been added. Serve cold. Jellied salmon, Recipe 2. Mix 2 cupfuls of cold boiled salmon with 1 tablespoonful of lemon juice, 1 teaspoonful of minced parsley, 2 drops of Tabasco sauce, and 1 tablespoonful of granulated gelatine dissolved in cold water. Add it to half a cupful of cooked salad dressing. Wet in cold water 1 large mold or several small ones. Fill with the salmon and put on ice until thoroughly chilled. Serve with sliced cucumbers and tartar sauce. Salmon pie. Butter a baking dish and line the sides with a rich biscuit crust. Fill the pan with fresh or canned salmon seasoned with salt and pepper, lemon juice, a pinch of mace, and a teaspoonful of onion juice. Spread over the salmon a cupful of boiled lobster which has been seasoned with melted butter and Worcestershire sauce. Cover with biscuit crust, slice diagonally down the center, and bake for an hour in moderate oven. Cold salmon patties. Season chopped salmon highly with salt and pepper, grated nutmeg, and melted butter. Add the beaten yolk of an egg to bind. Line patty tins with puff paste or rich pastry. Fill with the salmon mixture, cover with the paste, and bake. Pickled salmon. Recipe 1. Boil large fresh pieces of salmon in salted and acidulated water to cover. Bring to the boil 1 quart of vinegar, 6 blades of mace, half a dozen white peppers, half a dozen cloves, a teaspoonful of made mustard, 2 tablespoonfuls of sugar, and a cupful of water in which the fish was boiled. Let the fish cool in the water, then put it in an earthen jar. Pour the boiling liquid over and let stand for a day or 2 before using. Pickled salmon, Recipe 2. Cut the fish into large pieces and cook until done in salted and acidulated water. Drain, cool, and skin. Put into a preserving kettle 2 quarts of vinegar, 1 cupful of boiling water, 4 blades of mace, 2 tablespoonfuls of sugar, a dozen cloves, 2 tablespoonfuls of mustard seed, an onion sliced, a dozen peppercorns, 1 small red pepper, 2 bay leaves, a teaspoonful of celery seed. Bring to the boil, put in the fish, boil up once and cool. Let stand for 2 or 3 days before using. Pickled Salmon Recipe 3. Boil large pieces of salmon in salted and acidulated water. Drain and cool. Add 1/4 the water in which the fish was cooked, 2 quarts of vinegar, a tablespoonful of peppercorns, grated nutmeg, and a dozen blades of mace. Boil for half an hour and cool. Pour over the salmon, add a tablespoonful of olive oil, cover, and keep in a cool place for 2 or 3 days before using. Spiced salmon. Mix half a cupful of vinegar, the juice of half a lemon, 2 cloves, a bay leaf. Spiced salmon. Mix half a cupful of vinegar, the juice of half a lemon, 2 cloves, a bay leaf, an inch of stick cinnamon, a teaspoonful of salt, and a pinch of black pepper. Bring to the boil and pour over salmon steaks which have been boiled, drained, and cooled. Let stand for 2 or 3 hours before serving. Salmon soufflé. Cook together 1 tablespoonful each of butter and flour. Add 1 cupful of milk and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add half a cupful of stale bread crumbs, a teaspoonful of grated onion, a tablespoonful of Worcestershire sauce, a teaspoonful of minced parsley, and the yolks of 3 eggs well beaten. Add 1 cupful of flaked salmon. Mix thoroughly and fold in the salmon and bake in a pan of hot water in a moderate oven for 45 minutes. Serve with any preferred sauce. Salmon on toast. Reheat 2 cupfuls of cold salmon steaks in a cupful of drawn butter sauce, seasoning with salt and red pepper. Take from the fire and add 1 egg beaten light with 2 tablespoonfuls of cream. Pour over slices of fried bread, sprinkle with minced parsley, and serve. Salmon timbales. Flake a pound of cooked salmon and rub to a paste. Season with salt, pepper, and grated onion. Add a tablespoonful of chopped almonds and unbeaten whites of 3 eggs. Mix thoroughly and stir in 1 cupful of cream whipped solid. Put into small buttered molds, set into boiling water, and bake for 20 minutes. Turn out and serve with hollandaise sauce. Salmon turbot Recipe 1. Cook together 2 tablespoonfuls of butter and 3 of flour. Add 2 cupfuls of milk and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, add 2 eggs well beaten, a teaspoonful of minced parsley, and the juice of half a lemon. Put into a baking pan alternate layers of the sauce and cold flaked salmon. Cover with crumbs, dot with butter, and brown in the oven. Salmon turbot Recipe 2. Cook together 1 tablespoonful each of butter and flour. Add 2 cupfuls of milk and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, add 2 tablespoonfuls of butter and salt and pepper to season. Put a layer of flaked salmon into a buttered baking dish, spread with the sauce, and repeat until the dish is full, having crumbs and butter on top. Bake for half an hour. Salmon box. Line a square tin mold with hot boiled rice. Fill the center with cold boiled salmon, flaked and seasoned with salt, pepper, and grated nutmeg. Cover with rice, steam for an hour, turn out onto a platter, and serve with egg sauce. Salmon with cucumber sauce. Put a large cut of salmon into a buttered saucepan with salt, pepper, a bunch of parsley, a chopped onion, and sweet herbs. Add half a cupful of white wine and enough stock to cover. Simmer until the fish is done and drain carefully. Strain the liquid and thicken with flour cooked in butter. Peel and slice 3 small cucumbers. Parboil in salted water, drain, and fry in butter with a little sugar. Add to the sauce with a tablespoonful of butter and the juice of a lemon. Pour over the fish and serve. Salmon croquettes Recipe 1. Cook together 1 tablespoonful of butter and 2 tablespoonfuls of flour. Add 1 cupful of cream and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, add 1 egg well beaten and 1 pound of cold cooked salmon flaked. Let cool. Shape into croquettes, dip into egg and crumb, and fry in deep fat. Serve with any preferred sauce. Salmon croquettes Recipe 2. Cook together 1 tablespoonful of butter and 3 tablespoonfuls of flour. Add 1 cupful of cream and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Season with salt, red pepper, and minced parsley. Take from the fire. Add the juice of a lemon and a can of flaked salmon. Mix thoroughly and cool. Shape into croquettes, dip in egg and crumbs, and fry in deep fat. Salmon croquettes Recipe 3. Cook together 1 tablespoonful of flour and 2 of butter. Add a cupful of cream or milk and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, add an egg well beaten, half a cupful of crumbs, a small can of flaked salmon, and salt, red pepper, and powdered mace to season. Mix thoroughly. Cool, shape into croquettes, dip into an egg and crumbs, and fry in deep fat. Salmon croquettes Recipe 4. Cook together 2 tablespoonfuls each of butter and flour and add 1 cupful of cream in which the yolks of 2 eggs have been beaten. Cook until very thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, add a pound can of salmon, flaked, salt and pepper to season, and a teaspoonful of minced parsley. Stir in the beaten whites of the eggs and cool. Shape into croquettes, dip in egg and crumbs, fry in deep fat, and serve with tomato sauce. Salmon Croquettes Recipe 5. Cook together 2 tablespoonfuls of butter and 1 of flour. Add 1 cupful of milk and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add a small can of flaked salmon, pepper and salt to season, and 3 eggs well beaten. Reheat, but do not boil. When it thickens, take from the fire and cool. When cold, shape into croquettes, dip in egg and crumbs, and fry in deep fat. Salmon Croquettes Recipe 6. Cook together 1 tablespoonful of butter and 2 of flour. Add 1 cupful of milk and cook until very thick, stirring constantly. Season with salt, pepper, and celery salt. Add 2 cupfuls of canned salmon freed from the skin, fat, and bone and chopped fine. Mix thoroughly and spread on a platter to cool. Shape into croquettes, dip in crumbs, then in beaten egg, then in crumbs. Fry in deep fat. Serve with green peas. Swedish Salmon Croquettes. Cook 1 cupful of white stock with a tablespoonful of butter, the yolks of 2 eggs, and parsley, pepper, and salt, and grated onion to season. Add a can of flaked salmon and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Cool, shape into croquettes, dip in egg and crumbs, fry in deep fat. Serve with tartar sauce. Salmon Cutlets. Cook together 1 tablespoonful of butter and 3 of flour. Add 1 cupful of cream and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add a can of salmon, chopped, the juice of half a lemon, a tablespoonful of minced parsley, and salt and red pepper to season. Mix thoroughly and cool. Shape into cutlets, dip in egg and crumbs, and fry in deep fat. Salmon Chops. Prepare according to directions given for salmon croquettes. Shape into chops, dip into egg and crumbs, fry in deep fat, and serve with tartar sauce. Baked Salmon Loaf. Recipe 1. Put a cupful of milk into a double boiler and add enough breadcrumbs to make a smooth paste. Cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add a can of salmon, chopped, half a cupful of cream, salt and red pepper to season, and 3 eggs beaten separately, folding in the stiffly beaten whites last. Mix thoroughly, pour into a buttered mold, set into a pan of hot water, and bake until firm in a moderate oven. Salmon Loaf Recipe 2. Mash a can of salmon, add the juice of a lemon and half a cupful of fresh breadcrumbs, 3 tablespoonfuls of minced parsley, 4 tablespoonfuls of melted butter, and 4 eggs beaten separately, folding the stiffly beaten whites last. Put into a buttered mold and steam for an hour. Add to the oil drained from the salmon 1 cupful of boiling milk, 1 tablespoonful of cornstarch rubbed smooth with a little cold milk, and a tablespoonful of butter. Cook until thick, stirring constantly. Take from the fire, add 1 egg well beaten, a teaspoonful of tomato ketchup, and mace and pepper to season. Turn the mold out on a platter and pour the sauce around it. Salmon Loaf Recipe 3. Flake a can of salmon and mix it with the pounded yolks of 2 hard-boiled eggs, a tablespoonful of capers, and pepper, salt, mace, and parsley to season. Dissolve a teaspoonful of anchovy paste in a cupful of boiling water. Add a tablespoonful of lemon juice and a tablespoonful of soaked gelatine. Heat until the gelatine is dissolved and mix with the fish. Butter a mold and arrange upon it the rings of the hard-boiled eggs. Put the fish into it and put on ice until perfectly cold and firm. Turn out on a platter and serve with mayonnaise. Salmon Loaf Recipe 4. Drain the oil from a can of salmon, remove skin, fat, and bone, and flake the fish with a silver fork. Add the yolks of 4 eggs well beaten, half a cupful of breadcrumbs, 4 tablespoonfuls of melted butter, and pepper, salt, and minced parsley to season. Fold in the stiffly beaten whites of the eggs, put into a buttered pan, and bake for half an hour. Add to the drained oil 1 cupful of milk. Thicken it with a tablespoonful each of butter and flour cooked together. Take from the fire and add 1 egg well beaten. Fricasseed Salmon. Reheat a can of flaked salmon in a cupful of drawn butter sauce, adding half a cupful of cream and salt, red and white pepper to season. Take from the fire, add 1 egg well beaten, pour over buttered toast, and sprinkle with parsley. Curried Salmon Recipe 1. Chop a small onion fine and fry in butter. Add to it the liquor drained from the can of salmon, a tablespoonful of flour, and when the flour is smooth, add half a cupful of water, a teaspoonful each of curry powder and lemon juice, and salt and pepper to taste. Add a can of salmon flaked, reheat, and serve. Curried Salmon Recipe 2. Fry a chopped onion in olive oil, and when the onion is brown, add a tablespoonful of flour mixed with a teaspoonful of curry powder. Add 1 cupful of boiling water and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Reheat flaked canned salmon in the sauce and serve with a garnish of sliced lemon. Curried Salmon Recipe 3. Fry a chopped onion brown in olive oil. Add 2 teaspoonfuls of curry powder and a tablespoonful of flour. When the flour is cooked, add 2 cupfuls of hot water and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add a tablespoonful of tomato ketchup or chutney sauce and salt and pepper to season. Add a can of salmon flaked. Reheat and serve. Creamed salmon. Bring to the boil 1 cupful of cream and half a cupful of milk. Add a teaspoonful of butter and 2 teaspoonfuls of cornstarch rubbed smooth with a little cold milk. Cook until thick, stirring constantly, and add 1 can of flaked salmon. Fill ramekins with the mixture, sprinkle with crumbs, dot with butter, and brown in the oven. Creamed salmon on toast. Prepare the fish according to directions given for baked creamed salmon. Pour over slices of buttered toast, sprinkle with minced parsley, and served. Baked cream salmon. Cook together 2 tablespoonfuls of butter and 2 of flour. Add 2 cupfuls of milk or cream and cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add salt, pepper, and minced parsley to season, and a can of flaked salmon. Reheat and arrange in a baking dish with alternate layers of crumbs and butter, having crumbs and butter on top. Bake in the oven until brown. Salmon patties. Prepare creamed salmon according to the directions given in the recipe for baked creamed salmon. Fill patty shells and serve. A scalloped salmon Recipe 1. Prepared creamed salmon according to directions given for baked creamed salmon. Put into a buttered baking dish, cover with crumbs, dot with butter, and brown in the oven. A scalloped salmon Recipe 2. Cook together 2 tablespoonfuls of butter and 1 of flour. Add a cupful of water, the juice of a lemon, a small onion chopped, the yolks of 3 boiled eggs mashed smooth, and pepper and salt to season. Cook until thick, stirring constantly. Add a can of flaked salmon, reheat, and serve. Coquille of salmon. Prepare creamed salmon according to directions given in the recipe for baked creamed salmon, seasoning with salt, pepper, and lemon juice. Put into buttered shells or individual dishes with alternate layers of cooked mushrooms. Sprinkle with crumbs and grated cheese, dot with butter, and brown in the oven. Deviled salmon. Prepare creamed salmon according to the directions given for baked creamed salmon, adding half a cupful of Worcestershire sauce and the juice of a lemon. Fill individual dishes or a large baking dish, sprinkle with crumbs, dot with butter, and brown in the oven. Banked salmon. Reheat a can of salmon in a cream sauce. Arrange on a platter and put around it a border of mashed potatoes. Sprinkle with crumbs, dot with butter, and brown in the oven. Pressed salmon. Mix together 2 beaten eggs, a tablespoonful of butter, 2 cupfuls of breadcrumbs, a can of salmon flaked, and salt and pepper to season. Turn into a buttered mold, steam for half an hour, and serve cold with mayonnaise or tartar sauce. Molded salmon. Free a pint can of salmon from fat, skin, and bone and flake the fish with a silver fork. Add salt and pepper to season, half a cupful of cracker crumbs, 2 tablespoonfuls of butter melted, and 3 eggs beaten separately. Mix thoroughly. Put into a buttered mold and steam for an hour. Serve with drawn butter sauce to which chopped olives and capers have been added. Salmon and green peppers. Prepared creamed salmon according to the directions given for baked creamed salmon. Cut slices from the tops of sweet green peppers and remove the seeds and fiber. Fill with the prepared salmon, sprinkle with crumbs, dot with butter, and put into a pan of hot water and bake for 20 or 30 minutes. Salmon in casserole. Chop a large onion and fry it in butter. Add a cupful of bread crumbs and 1 1/2 cupfuls of milk. Bring to the boil, add salt and pepper to season, a flaked can of salmon, and 2 eggs well beaten. Pour into a buttered casserole, dot with butter, and bake brown. Sprinkle with minced parsley and serve. Broiled smoked salmon Recipe 1. Soak for 12 hours, changing the water 3 times. Drain, wipe dry, dip in olive oil and vinegar, and broil. Serve with a garnish of lemon and parsley. Broiled smoked salmon Recipe 2. Cut into narrow strips, parboil for 10 minutes, drain, cover with cold water, let stand for 15 minutes, wipe dry, and broil. Season with red pepper and lemon juice and serve with buttered toast. Broiled smoked salmon, Recipe 3. Cut smoked salmon into strips and broil carefully. Pour over it melted butter and lemon juice. Sprinkle with minced parsley and serve. Broiled smoked salmon, Recipe 4. Parboil slices of smoked salmon for 20 minutes. Drain, cool, rub with flour, broil carefully, and serve with any preferred sauce. Broiled smoked salmon, Recipe 5. Wash thoroughly and soak salmon for a few hours as it is very salty. Cover with warm water, simmer for 15 or 20 minutes, drain, wipe dry, rub with butter, and broil. Broiled salmon à la maître d'hôtel. Soak the smoked salmon for an hour in cold water, then drain and wipe dry. Brush with melted butter and broil carefully. Serve with maître d'hôtel sauce. Smoked salmon. Cut it into thin slices, warm it up in a little olive oil, strain the oil when it is warmed, add to it lemon juice and minced parsley, pour over the fish, and serve. Broiled kippered salmon. Cut the salmon into strips, wrap in buttered paper, and broil carefully over a clear fire. Remove the paper and serve. Fried kippered salmon. Soak slices of kippered salmon in olive oil for several hours. Drain off the oil and fry the salmon slices in it. Serve with melted butter and lemon juice. Broiled salt salmon. Soak the fish for 36 hours in cold water, changing the water often. Drain, wipe dry, rub with melted butter, broil, and serve with egg sauce. Boiled salt salmon. Soak the fish overnight. Drain, rinse, and simmer for 15 or 20 minutes. Season with pepper and butter and garnish with parsley. Pickled salt salmon. Prepare according to directions given for pickled salmon, soaking the salt fish for 12 hours before cooking. Salt salmon en papillotes. Cut the fish into strips, soak for an hour in cold water, drain and dry. Season with pepper and wrap each piece in tough, well-buttered paper, twisting the ends. Broil carefully over clear coals, unwrap, and serve with any preferred sauce. P.S. This is an insignificant fraction of what we really know about salmon. We are saving the rest for a piscatorial encyclopedia. End of section 28.